Hello, everybody, and welcome to Do We Have the Answer, the podcast where we answer questions submitted by you, our listeners. My name is Laura, and I am a librarian for the Ocean County Library, and I am here with...
Hi, I'm Kate, and I'm also a librarian at the Toms River branch.
Awesome. Great to see you, Kate.
Hello.
How you doing today?
I'm good. It's a Friday, and it's beautiful outside.
I know. It's a first, autumnal feeling day
Yes.
today, right? So got our sweaters on, and
that was a nice feeling.
It
to put on a
was.
comfy sweater
Yep.
this morning.
It was. So we hope everyone else is feeling the nice autumnal weather and feeling cozy as you listen to this podcast. So Kate, we have a bunch of listener submitted questions to answer today, right?
Yeah, that was very cool to open up our Google form and see a bunch of new questions.
Yes, so
that was really nice.
We are so excited that everyone is listening and submitting questions. So we're going to go right into it, and we're going to go with our first question. So this one's heartwarming. So what is your favorite part of librarianship, and what is your least favorite part of librarianship?
This was a really difficult question. So heartwarming, yes. Difficult,
Yeah.
double yes.
Well, it was just nice that people are interested on
Oh, 100%.
what we feel about our jobs. No.
So, first off, I love my job. And I think the best answer that I could have come up with is that when you're a librarian in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So our system in particular, I can't speak for all library systems or standalone libraries. We are the largest library system in New Jersey with our 21 branches. And with 21 branches comes a lot of coordination from departments that you might not necessarily know exist in a library.
Sure.
So for me, my favorite part of being a librarian is that there's a different niche for different people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So maybe you want to be in the collections department,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to be the person who's choosing the materials for the community.
Which is a huge job. Huge undertaking.
Yes. Maybe you want to be the person who's promoting all of the programming, which
Mm-hmm.
is what my department does.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you want to be at a service desk and you want to answer questions for very curious children who come in. That was the reason that I became a librarian. My first career was to be a school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
That I found a school setting wasn't really where, I felt I wanted to be in the long haul.
Yeah.
So I took a turn and got my master's in library science, and I started out as a children's librarian. That was the coolest librarian job, is working with the kids, because they ask the most fascinating questions.
Yes.
And they catch you off guard,
Yeah.
and it's really funny.
And they're so genuine about it too.
They
right?
are.
Yeah. My very first librarian job was a children's librarian also. And it was the same thing. It was just they were just excited to be there, and find something to read or get an answer for a question. I agree. So my answer was, it was just the hunt for finding something for somebody, because most of my career has been, public service librarian. So it's just when someone walks in the door and they're looking for something and they have no clue where to start or where to go, or if it's even going to be available or anything. And you just make their day by saying, yes, we have it, or no, we don't, but we can get it for you, or this is, you can go here to find the answer for this. It's just a great thing. And then another thing I thought about too is when you have customers that come in and they find out about something that the library has to offer that they didn't know about. So, they might be coming in and picking up a book, and, you're just talking to someone at the desk, and it just evolves into oh, did you know that we have a streaming service where you can get all these, fabulous documentaries, Canopy, or, we have a program for, arts and crafts in 2 weeks, just something that they just get excited about that they didn't know we have, like.
Do you find yourself being a librarian when you're at the supermarket too?
Oh, absolutely.
Me too.
Yes, or like with my family or anything like that. It's like, oh, well, if you go to the library, you can go do this or that. Oh yeah, no, I talk about it all the time. And I always have, because my very first librarian job was right out of college when I graduated, and I was just a circulation floater.
Okay.
So that's how I learned I wanted to be a librarian.
Okay.
I didn't know how to become one. It wasn't until I got to the library that I learned that.
Sure.
And I took some time off. I had some other jobs in between, and so here I am now. But and I do want to mention too, another thing that I thought about with this question is, how you said, there's so many different aspects to librarianship. Even if it's just not here, you could be a law librarian, a medical librarian.
Yeah.
You can work in a museum.
A school librarian.
Yeah, school librarian. In the hospital, Disney World, they have a librarian.
Do they really?
They do. So they actually have a library on, there's an off-campus right behind Magic Kingdom in Disney World. There's a library there.
I think I might retire there.
Yeah, I know. Right?
I'll retire and go
it's
work
so
there.
Fun.
For a
and then
bit.
I'm sure I know there's a ton of different librarians in California, in their archival, like Burbank and all that stuff. So it's just cool. And I think a lot of different movie companies have, those archival things on their filming lots and stuff.
Museums too is
Yeah.
another avenue you can go into when you have the degree.
It's just a good thing. And then also the staff we work with, like you mentioned before, it's 21 branches. There are so many different people and departments here, and we all work to help each other out, because we are the largest system in New Jersey. Yep. And it's just great. I've met a lot of great friends working at the library. So it's good. Yeah. So now here's the sad part, the least favorite part of librarianship. And I don't know if this is appropriate to say, but I'm going to just say it. Paying for the master's degree.
Oh.
That was my least favorite part. While the master's degree is so important, don't get me wrong, student loans are not fun.
Well, right, yeah. I think that's a consensus amongst a lot of people. No, that's not a fun part.
No.
I will say I had to think about this for a bit, and it kind of goes into what you were saying was your favorite part. Mm-hmm. It can be my least favorite part when I can't find an answer.
Yes, absolutely.
So I always said that I could probably just have an old school flip phone for just calling people and texting people if I didn't need to find the answer to everything all the time.
Are you one of those people who you're watching a movie and you'll go on IMDb database and
1,000%
look up the actors and what other movies they're in? Yes, I know.
Or they'll mention some sort of weird fact and I'll be like, I'm not sure if that's true. Yes. Is that true? And then I'll have to Google it.
Yeah.
Or, go to one of our databases and be like, I know where I can find the answer to this.
Exactly.
And I'll look and then, I'll get sucked into a black hole of information for a while.
Yeah.
So for me, it's so incredibly frustrating when the answer can't be found. Most answers can be found.
Yes. You know what I find? I think there's just so many different ways to find an answer, and there's so many resources that you can't know off the cuff every single time.
Oh, 100%.
And that's what's frustrating, So that's what's great about, there's different people who have either worked here longer or just have different interests, and they're like, oh, you can go to that database for this one.
Right.
Like the Galv's car.
I love that
one when someone comes up, or just different databases. So, but you're right. That's frustrating.
It can be.
Yeah.
That's my least favorite part because I think it's just a roadblock in my brain. And then all of the parts of my brain just start frizzling out.
Yeah. Another thing I wrote, and again, this is another off the wall one, but it was when the power goes out, and all of our electronics are down, and we have to rely on the old school way of. I was like, I don't really know, like what, and I'm like, you know what? When the power goes out, it's like, yeah, like my heart drops, and it's like, okay, like what do we do? We're so reliant on technology now. You know, I feel so bad to say that, but
no,
it's just
I mean
like,
it is true. But the cool thing is, you know, you were talking about the master's degree is we learned
we know what to do. Exactly.
And if for those of you who've been listening to all of our podcasts, I believe it was our first podcast, we kind of described how to use the Dewey Decimal System.
Yes. And I called it the card catalog, even though I meant the computer online catalog.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you know where our brains are.
But it's just funny because we're just so used to doing our jobs a certain way.
Oh,
I
100%.
think that's with every, you know, job in the world. You know, you're used to doing it one way. And I think it's just the 21st century, you know, like when you don't have your electronics in working order.
Yeah. I mean,
it can make you a little nervous.
But we always do it.
Yeah.
It's, you know, what happens.
Exactly.
If we get through it.
Awesome. All right. So our next question that was submitted was, what contest do you have going on? So actually, Kate, you have a good answer for that one.
I do have a good answer for this one. So specifically for our podcasts, we have a Beanstack challenge where you can win an OCL swag bag if you hear the secret word during the podcast. So I think now would be a good time to say that secret word.
So the secret word for podcast number 3 is library card.
All capitals, all lowercase?
All lowercase, and it's 2 words, library space card.
Perfect. So what we do is each podcast, we're going to have a secret word. You will go onto Beanstack, and you can find Beanstack by going to our website, theoceancountylibrary.org/Beanstack. You can either sign up or sign in, depending if you have an account or not. And while you're in Beanstack, after you join our challenge and submit the secret word, which was library card, you can see what other challenges we have going on. Mm-hmm. So during the summer, we have summer reading. Mm-hmm. We have winter reading. Mm-hmm. We even did one when the Harry Potter app was popular.
Fun.
We did, you know, a wizard one where we invited you to go to all 21 branches and get secret words and challenges. Beanstack always has something going on.
Yeah, always. So the one currently, like Kate said, is the Do We Have the Answer Beanstack Challenge. So you'll want to register for that. And something really cool about Beanstack is they have a mobile app. So on your smartphone or tablet, you can download Beanstack from the App Store on your device, and you can log in, and it's just great. You can track your reading. Even if you're not in a challenge, you can track your reading, you can track how long you read, how many pages. It breaks down and gives you a lot of interesting, like your reading habits and things.
It also allows you to write book reviews, so you can help out other Beanstack community members.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I've actually gotten some good book reviews from
really?
Reading those.
Cool,
yeah,
very cool.
I add them on my to-read list.
Beanstack also has an Alexa capability. So if you have an Amazon Alexa at home, I believe you just say, Alexa, enable Beanstack, and then it'll walk you through the process of doing it. So if you're, you know, reading in bed and you don't want to grab your phone and wake up somebody, you can just whisper over to Alexa, Alexa, I read 25 pages, and she can add it for you.
Alexa, the secret word is library card. So that's fun. Yeah, so definitely check out Beanstack, you know, throughout the year. Like Kate said, there's so many different challenges that go on at all random times. And there's different ones for adults, teens, and children too. So that's another thing to keep a lookout for, you know, for your kids or anybody that you know. So again, just a reminder, podcast number 3, Do We Have the Answer? Secret word is library card.
So while we're doing this too, I guess we should announce the winner for podcast number 2, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so our winner who submitted the secret word for our second podcast is Alexa, and she is from our Manchester branch. So congratulations, Alexa.
Way to go, Alexa.
We're going to be putting together an OCL swag bag for you. We'll give you a call, and if you'll just head over to your branch and come pick up your prize.
And folks, you could be the next winner. So get that secret word in for podcast number 3, and maybe you too can win a swag bag.
They're pretty nice.
They were
bags.
fun. Yeah,
Just
they were great.
Toot my
They
own
were
horn
great.
on that one.
All right, Kate. So our next question that we have, this one was hard. I think we talked about this before. We were like, oh, this one's kind of hard. So if you could only read one book for the rest of your life, which book would you choose? So, little fact about me, I can only read a book once.
Oh, okay.
I can't reread.
Right.
I've tried, and like once I get into it, I'm like, I get right back into it. I'm like, I already read this. Like,
Can you watch a movie twice?
Yes.
Okay. Just
oh
curious.
my gosh. No, I've got a handful of movies that I've seen like 500 times. But I guess maybe with reading, I don't know. I guess because you put so much more time into reading.
Yeah.
Like, I want to just read something different.
Fair enough. Okay.
So I was going to talk about like a book that I read recently that I really enjoyed. I figured I would just do that. So it was a book of essays from Casey Wilson. She was on a TV show, Happy Endings, and she was on this one season of SNL.
Okay.
But it was called The Wreckage of My Presence. And it was just a bunch of essays. And it was just a really down-to-earth book. It made you think about your relationship with your family, especially like your mother. She just seemed like a normal, quirky person, not like a celebrity in Hollywood.
Sure.
So I think if I were to pick something to read, it would be like memoirs. I like to like know about other people. So I think it would be more of a genre I would pick.
You're cheating the question. No, I'm kidding.
I'm sorry. I know. But when I read that question, I was like, I can't reread books. And I will just say The Outsiders was probably the first book I read that I love this book. And I read every book that the author wrote, S.E. Hinton. So after I finished The Outsiders, I got like texts. That was then, this is now. And I read that early. We didn't read it for school, I don't think. I read that when I was like 10 or 11 or something. But that's one book I think about when people are like, what's your favorite book of all time? So yeah, I can't reread books, so I'm sorry. I can't answer that question, but I didn't want to not say anything. So that's, so how about you? What's your reading habits about?
My answer is not very good. I have a terrible habit of getting into a book, stopping for whatever reason, and then I never finish it.
Oh no. So it's the opposite, kind of. It's like...
Don't think I've finished. I did read a book during quarantine. I did. It was Funny You Don't Look Autistic.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Great book. The author had a wonderful sense of humor about his experience growing up with autism. Wonderful book. I think part of that was because it was quarantine 2020. I was kind of able to read it. It wasn't a terribly long book, and I did read it on my phone, so I had access to it all the time.
Yes.
So maybe that's what I need to do, is read more ebooks than physical books.
Yes.
So that's...
Or audiobooks, too. And audiobooks...
I can't do those. They put me to sleep.
Do they?
Cannot do it.
They took me a little while to get used to. I started listening to them when I had a little more of a commute in the morning, so that was good. And it's certain kinds of books I can listen to. Like, I like the memoirs. I like nonfiction.
Sure.
And novels, though, I don't like when there's multiple people talking, because then I get confused. Multiple narrators or whatever.
I can understand that.
But I will say it's upped my reading numbers.
Sure.
So I can get through one of those. But you're right. They can put you to sleep.
I tried listening to them. I used to commute about an hour to work when I was working in Lakewood, the Lakewood branch. So I'm like, well, this is great. I have an hour of time to kill. Let me just listen to an audiobook. And it was not something I should have been doing while driving. Like I tried it once and I said, nope, this is not working for me. So yes, I have about 5 books that I'm random amounts through that I probably won't pick up again, because I'll feel that I'll either need to go back and recap and not just be able to start where I ended. So that being said, and I've been doing this for a very, very long time. When I was in high school, we had to read Farewell to Arms by Hemingway.
Okay.
That was a book that had a profound impact on me.
Sure.
Very emotional.
Yeah, we didn't have
a lot of a lot of stuff went on. You know,
Yeah.
Hemingway was an ambulance driver and, you know, the army and everything. And a lot of it, I think knowing that a lot of it had to, you know, it was fiction based off of, you know, some events that happened in his life. I think that's why. But for some reason, I remember, gosh, maybe I was in 10th or 11th grade. And I feel like that book impacted me in a way it shouldn't have impacted somebody who was so young.
Sure.
It impacted me in a way of somebody who should have had more life experience, if that makes any sense. So I think if I went back and read that book now, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to read it again. Maybe this isn't a book I don't want to read.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, I'm not answering this question.
But you know, that's the beauty of reading, is that different types of books impact you at different points of your life. So actually that kind of coincides with this question. If you could only read one book for the rest of your life, you change over time. So, you know, something I would have wanted to read all the time 10 years ago is going to be different than now. And so since you mentioned, it just reminded me of something you read in high school. So my senior year, I didn't take English 4. We had a choice of taking a different type of English class. So I took world literature. And when you're 17, 18, you know, it's your end of high school, we read these books and your young mind couldn't process, like, why are we reading these? Like, they're just so above our level, you know?
Right.
Like, it was because it was world literature. So they were all books that took place in different parts of the world.
Okay.
So the one that stood out to me that I'll never forget was Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe.
Okay.
And again, it's one of those things, you know, you read it when you were 17, and it was another one. It was like really deep, really impactful. Didn't understand it at the time. Like, this is it's heartwarming. It's horrible. It just impacts you in a way.
Right.
And you didn't get it at the time. But you know what? That book has stayed with me all these years later.
Right.
And, you know, it was a question on Jeopardy that I knew, you know, or like, you know, I've seen it brought up in different things, you know, different readings or whatever. And I think about it now that I didn't understand it then. And like, why is this teacher making us 17-year-olds read these hard, difficult books? But those are the ones that lasted with me. You know, I don't give The Crucible a second thought, even though I loved The Crucible, but you know, I don't think about it as much as like that one pops into my brain.
Right.
You know, and it was like, that teacher really was setting us up for like, you know, college prep, you know, like the deeper things that we read. I was an English major in college.
Me too.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So did you read Jane Eyre 500 times also? That book I did read.
I was never required to read that one.
Oh my gosh. I had to read that book every year of college.
Wow.
And I hate it. I hate it.
That's Laura's review.
Yes.
Does not recommend.
I know. Do not recommend.
I think part of my thinking back and maybe that I would not want to read it again, and maybe we'll just say, if you could read one book for the rest of your life, what would you choose? I would choose to have read Feral to Arms when I was in 10th or 11th grade, and that'll be the one book that I read for the rest of my life, and will not pick it up again, and I'll probably never finish any of the 10 books that are chilling. So maybe I did answer the question.
Exactly. Yeah, we all answered it in different ways.
But I think part of it has to do with the fact, just like you were saying, you're not the same person you were in high school. And being a parent and having a family and everything. And for those of you who've read the book and kind of understand, otherwise I'm not going to spoil alert anything. And just, you know, the end of the book, I don't think that's something that I would be able to handle now as an adult and as a mom and all that good stuff.
And when you mentioned like you read a book during quarantine.
Yes.
That was a very different feeling than reading a book before quarantine or after, you know, because it was like, there's not much for us to do, you know, for that time that we really didn't like leave the house much, you know?
Yeah.
And I wanted to just read stuff to escape. Like I wanted like fluffy, quick reads, like nothing too deep, nothing too dark. You know, I love true crime. I love murder mystery. I love this. I love that. I was like, nope, give me cheesy, you know, celebrity gossips, you know, anything like that. And same with like my movie stuff, Tiger King, you know, the stuff to escape, you know,
there's
stuff.
another one coming out.
I know, I just saw Tiger King season 2.
Oh boy.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think that perfectly hits it on the head.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible to read one book, but I think there is that one book that will impact you for the rest of your life.
I love to read, don't get me wrong, but I fluctuate. Like I can go a few months with not reading, and then I just read. And I like to read before bed. That's where I'm most comfortable reading.
Me too.
Like I can't read at like 12 o'clock noon when the sun is shining and like
there's things to do.
I gotta go to the grocery store. Things like that. So I have to be very comfortable when I'm reading. So that's another thing too that impacts me. But then there's people like crazy bibliophiles that love to just read constantly all the time, and they can breeze through a book. So they might be able to read one book for the rest of their life, because they just love it so much. Or I know there's some people that will always reread Harry Potter, around his birthday or something like that. But yeah, I can't do that.
No, and it's funny what you were saying too, like you take a break and it's okay. You think, oh my goodness, the librarian is taking a break from reading.
I know.
And the cool part is that between our coworkers telling us what they're reading and the customers who are so passionate about telling us what they're reading, even though we're taking a break from reading, we're not taking a break from learning what's out there.
Exactly.
So that's very cool too.
And what's cool too is you're constantly reading. And this goes back to like technology, the 21st century. Like you said, you're always looking up information. So we're reading news articles, we're reading magazines, we're reading stuff on the internet. You're always reading even when you think you're not reading. And I think that's something, if there's any like younger readers listening to this, you might not like reading now, but you're always reading, instruction booklets, this or that, like. It's
funny you said that. I was working in Little Egg Harbor. I was one of the sale coordinators, and then we also did reading buddies. So there was a mom who came in and she said that same thing. She goes, we did reading buddies and he had so much fun with his, his older buddy. Do you have anything that you can recommend for me when we get back home? And he might be a little bit more reluctant to read.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I said to her. I said, does he like to cook? And she goes, yeah, he's been cooking with me lately. I said, have him read you the recipe and read the instructions.
Yeah.
So while he's not maybe reading a 200-page novel, he's learning new words. He's learning step-by-step instructions of how to do things. And he's maybe learning something that could be a trade for him at some point.
Exactly.
And it was kind of enlightening for the mom. She looked at me and she goes, I never thought about reading like that. You always think of reading as like strictly from a book.
Yeah.
And I said, any reading is good reading.
Any opportunity, Or like when you're driving in the car, like, hey, can you read that street sign? Or, read that sign if you're on the parkway. Like what's... you're learning geography as you go too. So it's just, there's different aspects of reading. And I liked this question because it dove into different aspects of reading. And it's just...
It's a very deep question.
It is. We can take this on so many different angles, but that's good. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one who like can't read something over and over for the rest of their life. I'm glad you had a different...
No, I can't even get through one book.
I know.
So this next one is funny. I found this
one was funny.
And I thought it was even funnier that you and I had the same answer.
We do.
So what's the most in poor condition book that we've found? And first off, I want to say that you'd think that it would be like an older book.
Yeah.
But as we know from our first or second podcast, some of those old books are in really great condition.
Yes.
They've stuck around and it's amazing to know how many hands that they've traveled through those books. But so our answer to this question is because Ocean County is a beach community. You know what books have been to the beach.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes it's a little trickier to find. A lot of them will come in and, you can tell the pages are wrinkly. They went swimming in the ocean or someone didn't dry off before reading it. But when there's sand in the book cover.
I love finding sand in the book cover.
I do
for some reason.
Oh my gosh, I hate the feeling. Now, this is funny. When I was a kid, I hated the beach, going to the beach as a kid. Because I hated the wet sand on my body, and it was like, I'm itchy and gross and you're hot and whatever. When I feel that texture in the book cover, I hate it instantly. I love the fact that they took it to the beach because I like to read at the beach. That's another place I do like to read. But I'm like, this is just, I don't like this feeling.
Oh, see, to me, I envision some person just being able to relax on the beach with the sand, and I'm like, this person had such a good time reading this.
Yeah. But, you find it so often, and especially those, locations that are much closer to the beach.
Oh, yeah.
You'll find it all the time. But I thought it was funny that we both had the same answer.
Oh, yeah. That was the first thing that came to my head was sand.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So that is funny. And it's okay. It happens. Don't worry about it.
Just let us know.
Yeah.
Please let us know.
Let us know. So our final question that we're going to answer in this podcast, what was the strangest reference question you've ever taken? And I instantly thought of my very first reference question on the job here at Ocean County Library. It was my first time on the desk, and it was my first phone call. So I was just so nervous to take like a call, and I was like hoping it was going to be something like, oh, can you look up my account, or something really easy. And the person wanted me to read instructions on how to cut a mango.
In their defense, it's hard.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard. And I think that's why I was traumatized for it, because I do remember I bought a mango once, and I was, you ruin half the fruit. Like, you can't even eat it. And they're not cheap, But I just thought it was so funny. I'm like, is this really what people like call for? And you know what they do? They call an because if they don't have a computer at home,
it's a research
or something.
Question.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was just funny, like reading through the steps of cutting a mango.
Sure.
And it was just like, it just stuck out to me. It was just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, I think that's it's a good question. I'm pretty sure I have either Googled or YouTubed or something to try and find the best way to get the most of that mango meat. And
I know.
That's stuck to the pit in the middle. Trying to make mango salsa. I go through 20 mangoes just to make one serving.
I know. And sometimes you just want to be like, so are you making mango salsa? Like,
you
what are you doing?
Know, right?
You want to know.
Like, are you putting it with cottage cheese? Are you making a mango upside down cake? You want to know.
Or are you drying them out?
Ooh, that sounds good too.
It does sound good, actually.
Freeze drying.
Is it lunchtime yet?
No, it's not. Nowhere near lunchtime.
Nowhere near lunchtime.
So I could not remember any question. So when you mentioned the food question, it did spark in my head. Somebody called to ask how to blanch a vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
And I read them the instructions on how to blanch it. And what's cool about both of our questions is now we both know how to do those things.
Right? Yeah, I don't think I could cut a mango though. Even knowing how.
The woman who was calling me, she did explain what she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
She was trying to freeze asparagus, and she didn't want it to get all yucky in the freezer.
Yeah, you should always blanch all the time.
Yeah, which I didn't know at the time.
And it's funny too, actually, I had a reference question not too long ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, and I can't for the life of me remember what the vegetable was. I never heard of it. And they said, what's the best way to serve this? And I was like, well, I never even heard of it, and I looked it up, and it's just saute it. And I wish I could remember what the vegetable was.
No.
I want to say it was like a type of parsnip. Like it was like a cross between a parsnip and like a carrot type of thing. But it had a really bizarre name. I can't remember it for the life of me. But yeah, a lot of people want to know what's the deal with their fruit and vegetables.
I mean, we do live close to a lot of farmland.
We do.
In the western end of Ocean County, Plumstead, New Egypt, all over there.
Yeah.
You want your food to be nice and fresh.
Exactly. And you know what's funny too? I mean, I know you've worked in a couple different locations, and I have myself too. You kind of get into a pattern of different reference questions at different branches.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like people ask, different questions based on what location they're at. And it's interesting to, like you said, I wonder if out in Plumstead, if they get more farmy questions than they do like at Tuckerton, say. I don't know, or something like that,
Completely possible.
Yes. We should survey the branches. What's some weird reference questions you've found? But no, that's the beauty of it. You can always call the library and ask us anything, and we'll give you an answer.
That's literally what we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's It's cool.
And we learn a lot. Like you said, now we know how to blanch
our vegetables.
Blanch our vegetables before you freeze them.
Because I have frozen things before and then I've defrosted them. I was very disappointed.
Yes.
Like, why is this coming out the bag like I get it at the grocery store?
Exactly. And you want to keep it, crisp and green. Like they say to blanch it so it's
Nobody
nice and
wants
green.
mushy vegetables.
No, never.
Maybe a baby.
Everyone eat your everyone read and eat your vegetables. That's the lesson of this podcast this week.
Oh, man.
Right. Okay. Well, those
were fun.
We
Those
had
were
some
good
great questions. Yes. And we would love for you all to submit even more questions. So don't forget, you just go to the library's website. It's www.theoceancountylibrary.org. If you go to our calendar of events page and just search for Do We Have the Answer, you can click on any of those events for Dewey, and you will find the link to submit your question.
Yep.
So again, that's www.theoceancountylibrary.org. Just go to our calendar of events page and look for the Do We Have the Answer events, and you can submit your questions through there. It's a Google form that you can submit.
Yes. Yep.
It's nice and easy, and it's anonymous. You don't have to worry. You don't have to put in any information. You just submit the question. And we love hearing your questions.
We get very excited when there's new questions.
We do,
So
yes.
please submit them.
Please submit them.
Anything you wanted to know about librarianship, working in a library, how to become a librarian, just plain old silly facts that you want to know about OCL or libraries or,
Yeah. Do we want to give people a hint or like a little coming what's next?
Because thinking that
we do have a user submitted question that we're saving because spooky season is upon us shortly around the corner.
I was actually thinking that we could maybe do that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for the month of October, Laura and I will be talking about a movie that was filmed on library property. I'm not going to give that away.
And it was a user submitted question. They mentioned it, and we were like, let's save this question and answer it in October.
Yes. This specific building in which this specific film was filmed is still part of the library system. So we're going to get into a little bit of the history of that building and another part of the library.
Yes.
All right, one last thing before we go. I do want to remind people that a lot of the things that we talk about today, we are going to have a post on our Facebook and our Instagram page to kind of have some visuals to go along with it. So it might be some of the book titles we talked about. We might have some links for you if you're interested in reading any of the books that we talked about. Maybe a little bit about, librarianship, things like that. Funny Sandy Books pictures that I might Photoshop some funny books.
Yes.
Some funny books
We'll
pictures.
throw a picture of a mango in there for you too.
But we did talk about our next podcast, and I really, really, really want to stress, and I'm going to stress this for next time too, that our next podcast for October, when we talk about the movie trivia and about the two parts of the library, there's going to be some really great artifacts from the movie and pictures from inside of the buildings and things like that. So make sure you're always on the lookout for the visuals to go along with our podcast.
So make sure you check out the Ocean County Library's Instagram page and their Facebook. Kate, what's the handles for?
The Ocean County Library NJ for Instagram, and for Facebook you can just search Ocean County Library and we'll come right up.
Perfect.
And if you are having some trouble, at the top of our website, theoceancountylibrary.org, we have links to all of our social media pages.
Follow us today, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Okay, bye everybody.
Support public libraries. Like, share, and subscribe for more great videos.